the Boers should pull back and consolidate behind the Orange and Vaal rivers and create the Volksstaat.
Yes.
No, I'm finished.
Yeah, that's the real thing of why the Boer folk are really different from the Afrikaners, even though I understand that Dr. Les is saying that today everybody is a Boer.
Right.
But the Boer did not want to be part of the Kaapstad or the Kaapstad Afrikaners. They wanted to have their own countries, and they did have their own countries, the Transvaal and the Orange Free State. And they just wanted to live amongst themselves and govern themselves. They didn't want to be part of the colonial Britain, and they didn't want to rule over blacks either. They just wanted to have their own plot of land and have their own freedom amongst
How about
themselves.
them thinking of themselves as white people first?
I'm sorry?
How about them thinking of themselves as white people first?
Well, see, that's the whole thing about it, John, that was the mistake that they fell into during the apartheid era, and when they got into this thing about they're white and the other people are black, and that was what the apartheid problem was, where it was the whole concept of viewing the other person as somebody else, not your equal, and you look down on them and you just view them as something that's subservient to you. That whole concept was really what was the poison of apartheid. When you're viewing people as your own separate ethnic group, and you want to just live amongst yourselves and view each other as brothers and sisters among those lines, it's a much easier way to run things. When people are too separate and they still have to live under the same roof, it gets very complicated like that. And then you do need to have something that's kind of lording over you that is going to clamp down on you. We see that like with what happened in Kosovo, Serbia. We see that in Iraq. I mean, every time that you see like multi-ethnic communities, there has to be something that's a bit of a heavy hand in the government that runs over everybody.
Yeah, we see when I say that, what I'm talking about is that you have a government and an entity over there that is anti-white. So I'm not saying they should think of themselves as white and look down upon everyone else. I'm talking about thinking of themselves as white to be united against the regime that wants to wipe them out as a people, namely a white people. And in order to defeat that system, that evil system there of ANC and black bigotry, the white people are going to have to unite to just survive as white people.
Right. But what's going to happen is that what's going to happen is the Afrikaner will sell out the Boer. Just in the same way that you see in America, you see that the neocons sell out the conservatives. I mean, you see this John McCain. You guys in America do not like John McCain because he's not a real conservative. Yeah, but this is something that you have to support him anyway because the real issue in America is this war in Iraq. And when you view the issues and size them up about what's the most important one, it is the war in Iraq. And McCain is the candidate who can most easily address that issue. So you have to support him. But he's no conservative, and he's going to sell out the conservative issues left and right when it gets into power. So, I mean, it's the same kind of situation in South Africa, if you can view it along those lines. Getting back to the whole South African thing, the thing is that Afrikaner are the ones with the power and the finances. These are the old Broederbond, who the ruling party, the ruling behind the scenes kind of group. It's very similar, like that the liberals in the USA have a lot of power in the finances. This is something that when you see that, you understand that you have to also understand the history of South Africa, where these people, the Boer folk, had their own separate countries. They fought and died and won their own separate countries. They had a country called the Transvaal. They had a country called the Orange Free State. It's very similar to what the United States did with their own war of independence against Great Britain, and they won the 13 colonies, and they called themselves America. And then Great Britain, in the War of 1812, tried to come back and take over, but you had the Tories in living within the United States, those 13 colonies, kind of running things a little bit behind the scenes like that. So you had the Great Britain coming back in the War of 1812, trying to take over. That's what the Second Boer War was. Whereas in America, in the War of 1812, America won and beat back Great Britain. In the Second Boer War, the Afrikaners won and defeated the Boer folk, and also in the process practically wiped them out. Did a genocide on the Boer folk, and a systematic one at that.
Yeah.
So this is really what the thing is, and that's when you understand that concept. That's what is so ingrained within the Boer folk.